Welcome, folks. The Chiefs have gotten their second win. Their special Thursday night cookies in the press box. Matt Derrick is here live from Arrowhead Stadium. We're going to get in right to the aftermath of everything from this Chiefs win. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We're live after that second game. For those of you on YouTube, you can watch us right now. If you're hearing this on audio, we're a little bit delayed, but we're brought to you by BetOnline. It's where the game starts. He's Matt Derrick, beat reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is at the stadium live. I am Ryan Tracy, founder of Rogue Analytics, NFL 33, as well as RGR Football, where you might have seen me tonight. Thanks for making us your first listen. Let's get into it, because tonight, Matt, it was not a foregone conclusion. There were times it was very much on the rocks. I felt like this night, bottom line, came away with a little bit of resiliency, and I feel better about this team than when they started this ball game. Am I wrong?
Hey, anytime you come back from down 10 in this league, it's a big deal. I mean, and even looking at, the Chiefs had not been, by my count, hadn't been behind by 10 points or more in a game since week 7 last year against Tennessee. So this isn't a familiar situation. But I'll tell you what, one thing that I think was pretty common, and Patrick Mahomes mentioned it in his post-game press conference, was week 2 last year against the Chargers. Very similar game, except the Chargers got that one. And that game kind of impacted the Chiefs. I mean, that loss was obviously a big part of the reason why they go 2-2 to start the season. But it also ate at them a little bit. I mean, it eroded their confidence. And it's, to me, this is, you're right, talking about a 180. What can this team take from this win on a short week? They get a little bit of rest now. Where can they build off of this win? Because they've got nothing but tougher games coming up down the road too.
Yeah, there's a lot of quality opponents. It looked a little bleak early because Mike Williams was doing Mike Williams things. We've seen him, and I don't want to discount it, but Mike Williams has a way to raise his game against the Kansas City Chiefs in particular, and in Arrowhead even more so than that. He started out hot. I think Rashad Fenton had a little bit of trouble, but he didn't get a whole lot of help either. Later in the second half, Steve Spagnuolo made some adjustments. Do you thought that was just trying to let Fenton play into it, or what was the reasoning there?
Yeah, I think it was a couple of things. One is obviously it was a matchup that the Chargers liked. Clearly. Williams is a guy with size, and they've been able to take advantage of that before, and they know that, hey, Mike Williams is a Chiefs killer. And I think there was part of it too was that, remember, he only caught 2 passes for 10 yards last week against the Raiders. So I don't think there was any doubt the Chargers came into this game with a specific game plan to get Mike Williams going early, especially without Keenan Allen. So Fenton was probably just simply the victim at the time. Certainly it was a rough game for him. But honestly, hey, Snead gave up a couple of catches to him as well. So there was a lot of wealth spread around as far as that go. Williams beat a lot of guys tonight. But I think it was just a little bit of that was the matchup that the Chargers really, really liked. Williams on Fenton. It was clearly something that they thought was in their favor, and they took advantage of it early. The important thing is that the Chiefs made some adjustments, and not just in the secondary, but up front too, because a big reason why Herbert and Williams were able to get going is the Chiefs weren't getting much pressure on the quarterback in the first half. And the second half, they made some adjustments. They started dialing things in. And honestly, they were able to now finally get pressure in the second half without having to bring extra help. Mm-hmm. I thought that for certain that, Steve Spagnuolo was going to have to start bringing some blitzes and bring some 5th and 6th rushers to get some, pressure. But I think that remember, the Chargers lost a couple of offensive linemen in the second half that I think helped out too. But all of those things improved everything in the second half from a pass protection standpoint. And so, I think Fenton got beat up a little early, but clearly this team in the secondary finished strong.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought the secondary answered the call almost all the way around. And Fenton got better as the game went on. I know he had some troublesome plays, back-to-back PIs in the first. I'm about tired of that, and I can understand why the coaching staff may be frustrated. But for folks who didn't watch this game live, those that are going to box score analysis go through that process, they're going to say that Snead got beat rather handily at times. I think that's A, incorrect, and B, an outright lie. That circus cast in the end zone, I couldn't ask for any better coverage. L'Jarius Snead did his job. It was, I think, the elevation of the game by Williams that really stuck out to me there. Did you see it differently?
No, I'm with you. I mean, to me, with the coverage that Snead had, Williams just had a couple of absolutely fantastic catches. And once again, L'Jarius Sneed does what L'Jarius Sneed does. I mean, if you throw at him, yeah, he's going to give up some passes from time to time, but guess what? You're not getting any further because he's going to bring you down. And he did that with Williams too in a couple of those situations. So yeah, I think they did a really good job across the board. Of rebounding, but Snead in particular, I don't think he had a bad game at all. I think he had a pretty solid effort.
I thought so as well. And folks, from the interior of Arrowhead Stadium, it's difficult to get a good Wi-Fi signal, so bear with us at times. I will say also, I did notice early and in my notes in the first quarter, I saw that they tested Jalen Watson, and that he came away from it pretty well. And I thought, hey, that was job well accomplished. Like, I was satisfied with Jalen's night right at that point. But to see him make the play of the game later, no one could have predicted this. I mean, even I was one of the few people that had a draftable grade on him, and I didn't even think he was going to progress to this point yet. Folks were surprised that Josh Williams didn't get the start. At this point, you have to say that he is firmly entrenched as a guy that's going to play a lot of snaps at this point. That one play alone should earn him that, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it certainly will. And in regards to, why maybe why Watson is playing in front of Williams at this point, I mean, I think that a big part of it is that, Josh Williams is making a big leap from Division II to the NFL. Jalen Watson's been going up against, Power 5 at Washington State consistently. He's been going up against. So I think he's seen better competition and, honestly, it looks better prepared at this point, a little bit more polished. I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, the reason why you take Josh Williams where you do is because there's a tremendous amount of upside. So I don't think this is a poor reflection on Josh Williams whatsoever. If Jalen Watson's not on this team and doesn't land at his team in the 7th round, maybe it's Josh Williams that makes that interception. I mean, there's no knock on that kid. Yeah. But I think it just speaks to Jalen Watson and, the toughness. I mean, clearly this kid perseveres. I mean, he's been through a lot of challenges, and to end up at Washington State and to thrive the way that he did, I think that stands out. I mean, and I think that's part of his character that's helped him kind of win that job, at least in the pecking order of the depth chart right now. But once again, I mean, with the Chiefs and these young corners, I mean, good grief, that could have been Trent McDuffie making that play. But I'm with you. I mean, I didn't think that throw from on replay from Herbert was as bad as I thought, because some of it was a little bit that I think the Chargers were out of sync on that play. Everett had just had the big catch and looked like maybe he just wasn't expecting the ball. And I don't think he was the original intended target. I think Herbert wanted to go elsewhere with that ball and then kind of came over to Everett. And that play guys kind of fell apart, but give all the credit in the world to Watson. I mean, he read it perfectly, made the play, and he was gone.
I agree. And it's funny that you mentioned Watson. Both Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson come in as rookies, having played the best college wide receiver they could last year in Derrick Watson, a guy who was built like Mike Williams, who plays like Mike Williams. And I think that prepared both of them. There's a lot to get to. We're going to add Chris Clark in here, remote from Arrowhead, here in a minute after I tell you about our newest friends at Turo, the biggest, largest car sharing marketplace in the world. You can book a car, anything you want, anywhere you want, an electric vehicle, a luxury car, SUV, whatever you're looking for, whether in the US, Canada, or the UK. It's not a rental. It's car sharing. You can get that from hosts that own their cars and loan them out. Get you from A to B and get you where you need to go. You can test drive anything that you like, and many Turo hosts will even deliver the car to you. You can take every trip, and it's backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply, but check them out. Ditch the boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. Now, let's see if we can get Chris added in here. Live from the parking lot. How do you hear us, Chris?
I can hear you all just fine. How are you all doing?
We are hanging in there. We've discussed the big play of the day from Jalen Watson. I want to turn it to the offense. I thought it was an up-and-down day for Patrick Mahomes. Chris, what did you come away with?
Yeah, I see that. And, honestly, I missed what he was throwing at in that pick, and I couldn't go. Obviously, we didn't have the visual to see, or that almost pick. But he threw a dime to Justin Watson on that long touchdown ball. And Justin Watson beat J.C. Jackson, so hard to really feel bad about that. And then you start looking, and I know you already talked about defense and we're switching to offense, but I just got to say, Chris Jones 8, and I didn't realize that the Chargers offensive line lost a couple of guys, but what a game.
Yeah, it really came down to that. Matt, as far as Patrick goes, do you see it the same way? Like I thought there were, by my count, 4 possibilities of turnovers that he threw that either got dropped, got turned over, or were already known. Is that a concern for you, Matt Derrick?
Not really. I mean, a couple of those were certainly on plays that he knew that there were flags, and just was either kind of throwing the ball away or taking some chances. The throw that almost turned into the interception. I mean, Mahomes even said he knows that PFF is going to grade him down for that one. But I mean, no. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. You're gonna deal with it. I mean, there's going to be some times that he's going to have some throws like that. I'm still, even after hearing Patrick kind of talk about that throw, I'm still not quite sure what he saw on that play. But you're gonna live with it, and part of it is that he's going to throw into tight windows because he's confident that he can get him the ball in there. And you know what? 95% of the time he's right. Yeah. So you'll live with that. And yeah, he probably was living right tonight because there was a couple of turnovers that he could have had. But no, I mean, it doesn't concern me. And sometimes that's the way that the game breaks. And honestly, I mean, this was the kind of game that broke exactly on that. The Chargers had an interception that they gave away. Chiefs had one that they didn't. I mean, it's, sometimes it's this just strange way the ball bounces in this league.
It certainly is. Chris, from your perspective, it looked to me like Clyde was very much what we had hoped he would have been from his rookie year. What was it like live for you?
I have to just say his play at the very end of the game to go down inbounds, the way he was carrying the ball the entire way, he was expecting to get hit, and just going down at the 18-yard line, that was a phenomenal play. That's an extremely smart play, and that's actually exactly what you want from a guy like that. I mean, he has been a guy that has not played up to what you would hope for as a first-round running back, but I think he's played well enough. And you mix in Jerick McKinnon, you mix in Isaiah Pacheco at times, and I think you're going to have a very good backfield. And that doesn't even include a guy that can't seem to get on the field and be active in Ronald Jones. So lots to like there in the running back room.
Now, they spread the ball around a little bit, Matt, but it was very much a concerted effort. Juju, not many touches, 3 catches on 3 targets. MVS, 2 catches on 7 targets. It was rough going. Was this miscommunication on the Chiefs' part, or was this playing an improved secondary that the Chargers really knew how to go after this group of wide receivers?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, this is a good Chargers defense. I mean, they can get after the quarterback with their front 4. They can create havoc with those edge guys. They're great players. They're good at every level. I mean, this is a really good Chargers defense, and I think they're improved in the secondary. I mean, certainly Jackson's going to be that kind of guy, and I think this is probably a Chargers defense too that's going to even play better later in the season. So this might be a tougher match the second round. We'll see. But I think you have to give some of the credit right there. I mean, to the Chargers. I mean, that they came after it. They put a lot of pressure on Mahomes. Yes, the Chiefs had some execution errors in the first half. They will tell you that. But I think you got to give the Chargers a lot of credit in the first half for just how tenacious they were going after Mahomes and how physical they were playing. But in the second half, the Chiefs made those adjustments. They started changing things up a little bit, and the offensive line finally got into a rhythm and was able to make some plays. I mean, the play by Clyde, I mean, that's the longest run of Clyde's career, 52 yards. I mean, his previous was 31. That's something that's been missing from this offense the last couple of years. Have been those chunk plays on the ground, and that wouldn't have been happening without some great offensive line blocking on that play. So all the problems that they had in the first half, they really tightened them up in the second half, and that helped them in both run and the pass.
I agree. And folks, we are live post game. Matt Derrick from Arrowhead Stadium, Chris Clark from Parking Lot D, where the lights have evidently gone off. He's there somewhere, though, I promise you. Chris, from your perspective, I thought at the end of the day, Patrick got hit 5 times, gave up 2 1/2 sacks, 1 to Bosa, 1 to Tranquil. In the end, was this a decent day out for the offensive line?
I thought it was. I think it's considering who you're playing, I thought they played very well. I think, they gave Patrick time in the pocket, and he was able to climb up and make some huge throws. I mean, that pass to Justin Watson, he had to climb the pocket and make a dime throw 40 yards down the field, and he had the time to do it. It was a deep breaking route, and so I think the offensive line played very well. I didn't see a ton of pressure on him. Yeah, he got hit at times, and yeah, he got sacked that one time, but I thought the offensive line played very well. And the one thing I just want to say really quick, that really sticks out to me about the wide receivers is I expect that they're going to continue to get better and get more on the same page as Mahomes as the season goes on. I don't think they're quite there yet, and I think it showed tonight a little bit, especially going up against a good secondary like the Chargers.
Matt, is this a positive takeaway for the offensive tackles in Kansas City?
I think particularly the second half. I mean, the first half was rough, and I think that they probably even tell you that themselves. Second half was a good turnaround. I think that was, and I wanted to underline something that Chris had mentioned too, which was that Mahomes told us after the game just about that this was a difficult time with all these new faces and these new guys that they're trying to get into the offense, and having to play on a short week early in the season in week 2. He's like, normally if you're playing on a Thursday night late in the season, you're not creating a brand new game plan. You're pulling plays from previous, weeks in the season. And whereas week 2, you don't have that bank. I mean, you're still having to build a game plan from scratch. You're not pulling from your bank of material from the previous weeks. So he thought maybe a little bit of that was, some of the problems in the first half as far as execution. And they were able to clear those things up. And that's something that, I think that they're going to be able to smooth out going forward, because you're not going to have these short weeks. They're going to be at the advantage of being able to have regular prep all the rest of the way through.
I agree. I personally am happy with it. There's some pluses, but there's also some minuses to the Thursday night thing. We're going to get into that, folks, and talk about the defense. Maybe the other takeaway that I really think I need Matt's clarification on, but first got to tell you about our friends over at BetOnline. When you need to get into the action, BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check all your betting information for all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 source for all the odds, lines, games, and everything you need to get your money on the line in a smart way that gets you ready for whatever season you're looking for, whether it's this football season, could be baseball, NFL, NHL, NBA, even the golf and the combat sports are there at BetOnline. It continues to be the top resource for all of your sports wagering information, your live in-game betting, podcasts, scores, everything that you need to get covered. Head over there to BetOnline. It's easy to get to their website from any device, including your phone. It's BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, Matt, I thought this was a game that they could trip up, like you said so eloquently, coming off of that short season. The guy for me that really kind of lit it up, very happy with Legarius. Obviously, they got a little bit of pass rush. It was Willie Gay that was spark for me. He missed a couple of tackles. It was by no means a perfect game, but I thought Willie actually gave them what we haven't seen in the last few years, and that was his athleticism at the second level to chase down some of those plays that have gotten away from them in years past.
Yeah, I don't think there's any of that. He led this team with like 11 total tackles. That's impressive, especially considering, as you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he led the Chiefs in missed tackles tonight too. I mean, there were more than a couple of opportunities. And sometimes Willie, I think the one thing that he just still needs to learn as a young player is that on the ground is better than just blowing up the play. Because there was a couple of times I think he just got looking at trying to knock a ball loose and make a big play when he could have gotten a guy on the ground and maybe forced a third down or forced a third and long. I mean, that's needs to work on that a little bit. But there's no doubt. I mean, the Chiefs have a few of these guys with a lot of juice. Willie Gay's got it. Nick Bolton's got it. George Karlaftis certainly has it. I was talking to him after the game about that play at the goal line where he knocked down Herbert and kind of had a little celebration into the fans in the end zone. He didn't remember the celebration. I think it just goes to just kind of how dialed in that defense was at that point. And Jones had the play right after that where, almost getting Herbert in the safety in the end zone. Chiefs have some of these juice guys, and there's no doubt. I mean, Willie Gay is chief among them.
Willie had 2 passes defensed and 2 tackles for loss. He did not get his first interception that he says he's still going to lead the league in it. I still believe him after tonight. But the guy that had the juice, there's no denying it. As the game went on, Chris Jones took over this. Chris Clark, from your seat, how did it look? And could you tell when that switch got flipped?
Well, from what I saw, it sounds like they lost Corey Lindsey, and I think that's probably a huge part of Chris Jones taking over. Lindsey, I think, played really well early on and limited Jones a little bit, but you're absolutely right. He took over and he dominated the game. And there's not much else you can say. I think, if you take away Chris Jones from this game, I don't think Kansas City wins because I think he got enough pressure on Herbert, not just the sacks, but enough pressure. And don't forget he knocked down a pass too. So, I mean, there's lots of different things he did in this game, and the pressure he put on Herbert And I will say this, at least from what I saw, from my view, I was sitting right behind the Chargers offense going into the fourth quarter, and I watched Herbert get hurt, and then the next play he comes in and threw a pass and looked like he was not easy. It took him another couple of snaps before he felt more comfortable. And don't get me wrong, kid has got ice in his veins because he took him down the field, got him a touchdown. That was a gutsy play and a gutsy job by Herbert. But Jones, I think, changed the game.
I agree with you. And folks, we are live post-game from both outside of Arrowhead. Matt, Derrick is inside Arrowhead, and I'm in Locked On Studios West over here. Matt, to finish off on that topic, Justin Herbert, very gritty performance. Strong kid. Obviously, Patrick got run into very early in the game, had to limp around a little bit. He came back. Herbert stayed in the game. This is a matchup that I think the rest of the NFL needs to be scared of, but I think the rematch this year might be the highlight of the season. Is there anything that tells you there's anything wrong with that prediction, or do you think that this is going to be the barn burner of the year?
No, I would expect that the rematch is going to be even better because, once again, these Thursday night games are terrible. I mean, there's just have we ever seen? I mean, this was entertaining. I will give you that, and it was close. But was it a good football game? I can't make that case because there was some rough football out there, and and that just happens. And I think it's unfortunate that this is a marquee matchup, and I hate seeing a matchup like this on a short week on a Thursday because I think that the NFL this is a great product for the NFL, and I get they wanted to have a big game. So it's a compliment that, the NFL and Amazon Prime that this was the biggest game that they could have in a splash for this first time out. But it's unfortunate that two teams had to play, on a short week and maybe not as prepared as they both could have been. So, yeah, I mean, I think the second time around, I think both these teams are going to be motivated. I know the Chargers are because they're going to want this back, and especially at these teams. And I think that they're both going to be in playoff contention come the end of the season. That game's going to matter. And there's no doubt. I mean, Mahomes and Herbert it's going to be a battle to watch for a long, long time. There's a lot of respect between these two teams, but there's also a lot of, dislike. I mean, they want to beat the other side. So, I expect that the second game is going to be even chippier and nastier than the first bout.
Well, that's good because they have the horses to get after it. Go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say really quick, I think one of the things that I love about this the most is Arrowhead was rocking tonight. I absolutely loved it. It was great. But winning at home is so important. And now they have the one victory against the Chargers in their belt. And I'm not saying I'm picking them to lose against the Chargers the next time they play them, but now they can go back to Los Angeles. And if they lose, it's not going to hurt near as much as it would have if they would have lost this game. And they didn't play well in the first half, but they were able to find a way to win. And I just got to say this too. How about that kicker that came in and made all of his kicks? Didn't even make it close to where you were worried about anything.
Hey, I look forward to his next job because he earned himself another paycheck from another team when Bucker does return. Sorry, Amendola, there's only one Bucker in this town, but he will get hired by another club. I'm pretty sure of that, Matt. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, this is his third or fourth NFL team. I mean, some teams are getting some chances. So yeah, he's gonna continue to kick around the league. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does get a full-time job. The way that he's able to come in this situation in 2 days and be able to do what he did, that's pretty impressive. I mean, especially I talked to Tammy Townsend after the game. He's like, not every kicker's the same. I mean, they don't want the ball held the same way. They don't want it in the same spot. So he gave a lot of credit to Amendola about being able to come in here and get situated and acclimated as quickly as he did. And if that's the last you see of him, hey, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, he's getting the ring.
Yeah, there you go. He's earned it. Last point tonight. I think that it's important. Not everything was smooth. Leo Chanel put in some good snaps. George Karlaftis, I felt, came on as the game went on. That last looping stunt where he got up the middle, I was really happy with that. Brian Cook looked good on defense. He got a little carried away on some of the other things. My guy, I will take credit for that, folks. Yes, I know he's a little out of control. He'll settle down. He'll be fine. Jalen Watson, obviously, the rookie class contributed as much, if not more, to this game than any game we saw last season with that rookie class, which is maybe the best rookie class they've had in years. I think this is key to the success this season is that these two classes, 22 and 21 are able to continue to put that out. Chris, do you see the same thing?
Yeah, this rookie class is looking really well, and I think that you continue to see. The question is Joshua Williams. He showed flashes in the preseason of what he could be. If he gets to a point where he can come in and be another corner that they can use, I think they're going to be in great shape. And then we haven't really even seen Pacheco at this point. I mean, Clyde is been the workhorse for the most part. I mean, McKinnon had a couple of plays, and that was a hard run and a hard touchdown catch that McKinnon had. So I was impressed with that. But I also saw Pacheco getting involved in pass protection, so that's encouraging as well. So I think that this rookie class is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And, we haven't even talked about one of the rookies that I think most people were most excited about, and that was Sky Moore, who really didn't do much tonight. He had a good punt return, I guess, but didn't do much. I'm pretty sure he's going to have a huge impact in some game going forward. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I was talking about this before this game started, and I told the guys that I was riding with, I was like, I think it's been a long time since Kansas City's actually been 4 deep at wide receiver. After tonight, I'm not so sure they're not 5 deep at wide receiver and like legitimate wide receivers. I don't know why people didn't want Justin Watson on their team, but thank you for cutting him. I think that's a fantastic get for Kansas City.
Tom Brady is cussing somewhere. All right, so that I don't forget this time, let's start with Chris. Who gets your game ball?
I'll give somebody else the easy one. I'm going to go with Chris Jones. I think Chris Jones played phenomenal, and I think he really changed the tide. Obviously, there's one that it deserves a game ball probably more than anybody else, but I'll let somebody else take that little easy one.
Well, I know Matt's going to be creative, Matt. Your perspective is unique. Who gets your game ball tonight?
Well, Chris stole the guy that I was going to say that deserves the game ball. But I'll take what I think is once again, this is probably going to be a situation where all three of us ignore taking Patrick Mahomes and we're all going to look like morons. But the play of the game was Jalen Watson, and right place, right time, whatever it is, he made it. I mean, that was the decisive play in this game. So you can't ignore it. You've got to give the props to the rookie for making the play when his number was called, as Eric Bieniemy would say. That was big. And for a rookie to be able to make that, kudos to him. He has persevered. He has been a tough kid. That's why it's really fun to see a guy like that have success after some of the trials and tribulations that he's been through.
Well, you made my life easy.
I just got to say really quick, I saw somebody's story. He was a Wendy's employee 3 years ago looking for a place to play college football, and he has one of the biggest plays in the NFL so far this season. It is a fantastic story, Matt. Sorry, I don't want to steal your thunder. I just thought that was pretty amazing.
Hey, congrats to Wazoo and the Palouse. You guys deserved him. Matt, you made my life easy. Thanks there. 70% completion percentage or just under. 2 touchdowns, along a 41. Other than a couple of hiccups, over 100 passer rating, Patrick Mahomes is going to get mine. With an honorable mention to McCole Hardman for gutting out that ankle injury that could have been a lot worse. We'll get more on that tomorrow. Folks, thanks for being with us, Matt. Thank you for all of your time. Any last parting thought?
I see the Amazon Prime postgame show has folded up camp, so we're clearly working harder than anybody else. So I know I've deserved my cookie. I deserve my Thursday night football cookie. I wish I could get these to you guys, but trust me, I will be enjoying one more cookie before the night's over.
Hey, Matt, they have crumble cookies here at my tailgate.
There you go. Very solid.
Folks, lot to you in the back. Matt, the hardest working beat reporter in Kansas City, Chris Clark on location. I'm Ryan Tracy. Thank you all for being here. We will have more for you, maybe a bonus episode this weekend as we get some injury news, etc., and we'll be back at it next week as they get ready. Thanks. Have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.